Hey guys. Okay. 3i Atlas. Let's talk about it. So 4 nights ago, I asked my guides to give me a glimpse of what is 3i Atlas. Okay. And they did, and I'm going to tell you what they showed me, but also I'm going to say that that led into them bringing me back, like, to all the other awakening stuff that I have gone through in the last 8 or 9 years, and even 20 years if I go further back. Okay, so when they started showing me what it is, okay, they then brought me back to all of these other things that have happened to me in the last, maybe 15 years or so. Okay, all of them being connected to this. Okay, I don't even know where to start. I'm gonna start with the dream, and then I made some notes because it's a lot. Sorry. Okay, first the dream. Okay, so when I say it wasn't exactly like astral traveling, and it wasn't exactly like a vision, and it wasn't exactly like a dream, that's all I can say. It was pure consciousness, okay? Engaging so quickly and so acutely, just and I talked about this in the other video, but I saw all the versions of myself, but like boom, 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 fast, 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 fast. Each one of them vivid, each one of them like I was right there, each one of them different, male, female, leader, slave, high, low, whatever. I mean, just all the different, it was like all this consciousness, okay, came in. And I could engage with it and see it all at once. I saw some very key people that I'm not going to name on this video. I saw some stuff, okay, that's relevant, I feel, okay. Then, and I'm talking like, I'm in Egypt. I'm seeing myself as a pharaoh. I'm seeing myself as a person just in the common population. I'm seeing myself in a modern scene. I'm seeing myself, in some other life. And I've seen a lot of my lifetimes, and I have had these experiences before. This is what 3i Atlas told me when it brought me back to the other memories. It was like, you've done this before, Miranda. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I've had these visions in the past where I will see inner earth open up, okay? Parts of it, certain key parts, and they will open up like a skeleton. I'm calling it a skeleton. That's not what it is, but it's like just taking the bones and just opening them up, okay? But it's Earth's grid, okay? This goes back to dragons, ley lines, plasma, unicorn energy, all that, okay? And I will see them open up, and there will be a lot that comes through when it happens, okay? Like I'll get visions, I'll get downloads, I'll get symbols, I'll get probably months and months and months, maybe years worth of information in that one activation, okay? And 3i Atlas brought me back to those and was like, remember when this happened and that happened? And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, okay. Well, when I had this experience 3 or 4 nights ago, it was incredible, by the way. Gosh, it brought me back to so many things, you guys, that I think are all related to 3i Atlas, which is this lion energy. The same reason why I had the vision 6 weeks ago of Jesus and the lion aura that was over his head, okay? And the presence of these ships. And I mean, it felt like a warrior's presence, okay? When I had this vision of Yeshua, not in the life that we think of with him. This was like some other lifetime with all the tribal tattoos all over his face. I could sense the presence of ships. I've always been connected to the ships, lots of different types of ships, okay? But these were different. These were like, I hate to call them warships, but like these are very defensive ships. These are here for your protection. So I'm saying this in a good way, okay? These ships are here to protect you as sovereign human of Mother Earth, her child, okay? So this is a good thing, but it's a very intense thing, okay? So I'm trying to unfold this the best way I can for you. Sorry, I have to make notes because I want to make sure I tell you what they told me. Okay. So Yeshua, the Lyrans, the ships, the presence, okay? Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm getting so many downloads at the same time. I'm being told for my followers who stumble across this, who are still very religious, there is a documentary you can look up, and I want you to look it up. And anybody would enjoy this, okay? All of you guys will enjoy this, but I'm specifically speaking to anyone who's newly awakening or who just is scared to entertain the concept of extraterrestrials and other beings, okay? I want you to look up something called The Star. It's a documentary. You can get it on Amazon. It's like $5. It's so worth it. It is a documentary written by an attorney who's a Christian Sunday school teacher who started hearing from God, and God told him to research the Star of David, okay? And this led him down a long journey, which is all in the documentary. And in his profession, he was an attorney, so he decided to dissect what the Bible says about the star like he would a case. And he found all the clues about the star and started doing all this research. Well, he actually ran programs through a system, and it's a constellation tracker, okay? Like, I don't know the name of the software, but you can look it up. Go watch the documentary, look it up. He backtracked all this constellation tracker all the way back to 1 AD to hopefully find the very best point that he could of when the Christ entered our realm at that time, okay? But what he found was incredible. And for all my astrology people, okay, and all my stargazers, you'll love this documentary, okay? He essentially found Virgo in a special position by the moon, surrounded by 3 king stars and Lyra, okay? Don't ask me to quote everything this man said. I can't remember. Go watch it. And it may help some newly awakening Christians to realize Jesus's connection to the stars and the star people and the Lyrans and all that, and help them see why he's called the Lion of Judah and why these starships are so important right now. And this is a really big story, you guys, so it's kind of hard to put in one message, but I think you get my point. Go check that out. For anybody who's interested, I think anyone would love it, okay, regardless of your belief system, because he's really showing the science of tracking it back to a specific time and which stars were present. Okay, now this leads to the next part of my message. All right, you guys have to help me, guys. I told you guys in the video the other day that sometimes I will see something that looks like Orion's belt, but I know that it isn't, and it's not. I'm hearing it, it's not. What is it, you guys? Okay. What is it trying to do though? There's something that will look like Orion's belt. I'm not talking about the real Orion's belt, okay? Whatever that is, I'm not talking about that. This is not it, okay? But it will look like it, and it's targeting a frequency. It's trying to disrupt frequencies being sent by God, okay? And what I've noticed is when I see it at certain times, like this morning, was it this morning or last night? I don't know. I think it was this morning. I walked outside. It was fine. Didn't have any weird vibes. Didn't have any weird anything. It was just great. And then other times I'll go, and this is why I know these are ships, okay? It'll look like the constellation, but the vibe is totally different, okay? And this is why your discernment and your intuition are so important right now, okay? I say this not to make you fear. I say this to make you aware that start letting go of any fear that you have, okay? When you let go of fear, you can better attune yourself to truth, okay? And you can start to trust your discernment, and that you're not just being fearful, but you're being aware. There's a difference, okay? Between fearing something that you don't need to fear and just fearing everything, okay? Like someone who hasn't worked through the ego, they may just be so afraid of everything that they can't get to their discernment yet, okay? That's why healing is so important. But this Orion thing, okay? Yeah. Okay. So their target, whoever this is, okay, I'm not even getting into which ones are trying to mess with humanity and which ones are helping humanity. It doesn't matter. They can't harm you anyway, so don't fear them. But they will try to look like a constellation, in this case, one that many people feel connected to because of ancient Egypt, because we have had these Egyptian lifetimes, and we know the sacredness of the true Orion. And we know the sacredness of these lineages of star people, okay? But, so I think they're kind of using that to mess with people a little bit, whoever these beings are. It doesn't matter, though. What my guides say is don't fear anything. Just use your discernment on which ones you engage with and talk to. Does that make sense? Because this is where it gets a little tricky. When you're engaging with entities, you're inviting them into your realm, okay? So you want to use your discernment so that you engage with the light beings, basically, that are affiliated with God and love and source, okay? So I'm gonna leave that there. I know there's more to be said about it, but I'm just giving you what I got on it right now, okay? So that documentary, The Star, for anybody would be interesting, whether you're into astrology or into Christianity. This man teaches it in a way that helps people understand God's connection to the stars and why every cosmic body is relevant right now. Every cosmic body, okay? Something about this Orion position is very important right now, okay? And I'm asking about the polarity of this, the good side of it. Okay, so yeah, there is a duality to it. It's going to be used to show people the shadow self and to make them like reach for their light more. Okay, so there's going to be a duality to that. Probably I could do a whole nother video on that. Even 3i Atlas told me it has duality in the sense that, everything has duality. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Say I meet someone who's newly awakening, and I share one simple thought of something I've discovered through these channelings and through being an Oracle of Mary Magdalene and just engaging with the stars and the light ships and all the stuff, okay? If I shared one fragment of truth, which is true, okay, and it is a true vibration, because the truth has a frequency, remember that. The truth it carries a vibration. This is how we have this inner knowing about certain things, even when we can't explain it, okay? If I share one concept of truth with that person, that truth will still have duality, right? Because first they feel that resonance and they're like, whoa, something she said, it just made sense. But then what happens whenever they accept that one thing, or when they begin to at least think about it? All the fear and the trickle down have to happen, right? All that falling away. So that one spark of light, that one spark of truth triggers their darkness. Okay, so this is kind of how things can have duality. So imagine something with the consciousness of 3i Atlas. It's pure consciousness is what I felt like it, and I'll tell you what it said about itself too, okay, in a second. But imagine that kind of power and that kind of light and that kind of potential coming into our realm of unhealed humans, okay? The fallout from that, the duality, okay? Its trueness, its pureness will inevitably trigger darkness, okay? But that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to purge all that stuff, okay? And if you've done a lot of your own spiritual work, then this won't be so hard. This won't be such a hard transition. But for people who haven't done all the spiritual work, or at least some of it, okay? We're all constantly growing. So I don't think this is an ever-ending thing, okay? But for those who have done some, it'll be a little easier. For those who haven't or didn't even know they needed to, this could be very challenging. One second. Okay, sorry, I had to help my hubby. He's up here fixing something for me at the spa. Okay. Sorry when I get interrupted. It's a little hard, but I'm going to try to get back on track. Okay. After 3i Atlas showed me all these lifetimes, okay? Very, very quick, right? Like just zipping by. It was so fast, okay? I woke up And it's very, very good energy, by the way. Very good energy, okay? So I felt amazing. That's when the next day they start showing me all this other stuff from my past, okay? And one of them being that I've been doing like archangel sessions, guardian angel sessions, channeling sessions, oracle sessions, hypnosis sessions for years now, okay? And when I would do these sessions on clients in the beginning, my guides established a certain set of symbols that they would show me so I would know what it meant, okay? So they would show me, you see how they're pointing to the third eye? They would show me in my mind, whatever, like a certain symbol, like they're showing me one now, for example. And we would establish a type of communication. I would see the symbol and they would tell me what it meant, right? Or I would know what to do with that symbol. I would know what the person needed or where they're holding it in the body or whatever they needed, okay? So it was kind of like a language of symbols, light language, I'm sure, but this is just how it started out in the beginning. But when I would do group channelings, okay, even with like some of the locals here, I would always see this big A, okay? And 3i Atlas reminded me of it. And I think when you channel on a high frequency, sometimes people don't understand what you're channeling. I have had that experience where it's very easy for someone to not understand the message you're giving them from spirit, or to not necessarily not ready for it, but to literally not understand what they're getting from it, okay, until later. And that's something I had to learn in my spiritual work, was to just trust, give the message, even if it meant they don't understand what I just said to them. They're not going to understand it for 3 years or whatever. I just had to get to that place where I'm like, all I can tell you is what they're saying, right? And that's what would happen at the beginning of these group channelings that we would do here. I would see an A and they would be like, who's here? Who wants to talk? And I said, well, it's an ancestor. It's a big A, okay? And for me, and I feel many people, not just me, but I am of both. And that's something God has always taught me. I am star and earth. I'm both. I am the daughter of Sky Father. I am the daughter of Earth Mother. I am the in-between. I'm the sacred in-between, right? And I'm sure many of you fit into that niche, whether you know it or not, okay? But you will know it. It will happen. And because of that, when they said ancestor, okay, depending on who was talking, I would hear like their ancient ancestor. And sometimes I would hear like a loved one or whatever, but my channeling is always in the higher realms. It's not like I can see when someone's lost a loved one, or I guess like do traditional mediumship, but that's not my niche. Traditional mediumship is not where I'm at. And God's always told me that. He's like, no, up here. I need you to channel up here. You're here to teach many people how to awaken, guide them through this, show them the process. I don't need you there, right? The only time God brings me there is when, like my everyday life, like I go to get lunch with my family and the waiter has lost someone and they need help, then the loved one will come through and I'll give them a message, okay? But in my regular teachings and my classes and in my sessions and even these videos, my channeling is always very high realms, and that doesn't always make sense to people who haven't engaged with that energy yet. But I think it's about to start to make sense to people, because I think that's where we're at. I'm feeling that's where we are. And that's what 3i Atlas was showing me. They were saying when we would show you the A, it was us. And you were giving the people the information they needed. They just didn't know they needed it. Okay? And let me tell you, that's a huge leap of faith for us as oracles and channelers, because we deal with the community, especially professional practitioners who I deal with the community, okay? And, channeling a message to a community that doesn't understand you takes a lot of faith, okay? And I'm sure God knew that, because I grew up as a full-time minister dealing with constant rejection from the people, okay? So I can see where God was going with my childhood. I grew up dealing with that. I want to make a separate video about it, but I feel like it's relevant right now. But do you know that even when I was a kid, a little girl, you guys, this is how people can be sometimes. I have a memory of going to a door, to knock on the door, to read the Bible to someone, okay? And because this is how I grew up, and they did not like us sharing the Bible with them, okay? And they literally opened the gate for their 2 big Doberman pinschers to come out. These were trained attack dogs, okay? They come running at us, myself and some person that was with me. I don't even remember who it was. But I always prayed, you guys, and I was always protected. I always was protected. And I had many times faced danger, spiritual and physical danger, where God has protected me, okay? These dogs come running out. They get all the way almost to us, and they just stop dead in their tracks. And they began to circle around us silently, saying nothing. They wouldn't do anything. And I'm reminded of Daniel in the lion's den, right? That there's always this shield around God's people. And I feel all are God's people. But the thing is if you don't know that you are protected, that can make you vulnerable. And a lot of people don't know they're protected because they've never been taught that, which is the reason why we're being called to help the community and help the public realize they are special. You are special, okay? And you are protected. And begin trusting that, even if you've struggled, even if you've suffered in your life. I did too, okay? But I've come through every challenge, and so have you, okay? So anyway, when that happened, I saw firsthand with my own eyes that there was some barrier between me and these dogs. They were not allowed to harm me. One second. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Okay, so these dogs that were like literally unleashed on us, and I being a child, okay? A child! They couldn't touch us though. They just ran around and couldn't do anything. Well, anyway, you know, 3i Atlas brought me back to all these memories, like all these things where I was shielded, okay? And my ancestors were there, and there's this big A, but my ancestors are star beings, okay? And this goes back to that cosmic consciousness and the true cosmic being. I just saw a flash of light as I said that. So the cosmic consciousness and who we really are as cosmic beings, and that the shield around us, okay? How do you want me to say it? It's just directly connected to our consciousness. Like the more conscious we are, the more shielded we are, okay? And that's another video altogether on developing our process on ascension and how we come into higher consciousness and doing the work to get there, okay? This is why I set up a school platform. This is why I do weekly meditations on that platform. If you need help with things like that, that's what this is for, okay? I put it out there. Y'all need help. It's there, okay? But essentially, they brought me back to these times, the activations of inner earth, the times when I've seen the pyramids open in my visions. In those moments, I've literally felt such strong vibrations. It felt like earthquakes, okay, running through the planet, okay? I can hear ancient tonal chanting, singing when this happens. I can hear angels singing when this happens. A lot of things, I feel a lot of information comes through when these activations happen. And that's what happened the other day when I meditated with 3i Atlas. Okay. So then it gets weirder. Okay. They're bringing me to a dream. And then I'm going to tell you what happened with my husband and all the stuff. Okay. They're reminding me of some of the dreams I've had of ships. Okay. I've had many interactions with ships on dreams. On ships with dreams. But certain ones I think are more relevant than others, okay? This is why I don't always talk about my dreams, because sometimes you're just seeing something that's, you know, a moment that's not necessarily relevant yet. Maybe it will be, but not yet. But the most relevant to 3i Atlas, okay? I witnessed a ship that, oh my gosh, I'm seeing so many visions right now. This was in a dream, astral travel state. This ship was as big as a planet, okay? It was a planet, is what I'm being told, okay? And I was walking between cities on the ship, okay? And I saw, I'm going to tell you guys what I saw because I feel like somebody needs to hear it, but I saw these water beings in one part of the ship. They were pure water, and they were singing all around this one man, almost like yodeling. Their voices were coming through water, so it sounded like it was coming through bubbles or water or something. And they're all chanting like around this man. And that's one part of the ship. Okay. Then I saw these three. I called them my brothers. Okay. They looked like they had blue skin. Okay. And they had like a beautiful pattern on their skin. They were all sleeping on this like, I'm going to call it a sofa. I don't know what it was, but they were all sleeping there. Okay. And then I was moving through the ship coming to the forward, but I never got there before I woke up, and I was like, what did I just see? There were a few things that they showed me that I think are going to be relevant at some point. JJ, I don't know what it is. I get mixed messages about it, but basically JJ, okay, could be relevant for someone. It was a little bit relevant for me, but I think more is going to come from that, okay? The blue-skinned brothers of mine, I literally called them my brothers. I was overjoyed to see them, okay? The water beings surrounding this one man. He looked Arabic. I thought maybe he's Yeshua. I don't know. But they didn't say. I just was like moving through it like so fast, okay? The other thing that came through this message, now this was years ago, the one I'm telling you right now, was that the whole planet was a ship, okay? So just keep that in your mind, okay? A smaller ship that I witnessed a few years ago with my husband in this vision this time. Now, he doesn't remember any of this, okay? But I do. I was sleeping. All of a sudden, I'm astral traveling, and we're on a ship, my husband and I have another family member that's with us, and we are rescuing children, okay? Like, literally, this is what I saw. And the ship that we were on was, like, organic. Okay, so I'm on this little small ship. When I say a ship, I want to clarify, okay? It's not what you guys think. It's not. These little mechanical ships that we're seeing right now, they're real. And many of them interdimensional and extraterrestrial, but they are not the sophistication that I'm about to describe to you. The sophisticated ships, the highest technology I've encountered, are actual organic, living, breathing ships. They are alive. The entire structure is alive. The entire, the whole thing is alive, okay? So this little one that my husband and I were on this rescue mission for these children that I witnessed in the astral, okay? It had a sacred spiral, like 369, okay? Like where is it? Okay, let me show you guys. Like this when I do the meditations, okay? It was a spiral, but the ship, if you could imagine like a conch shell. Do I have a conch shell? I may have one in here, like a little bitty. Let me see, you guys. Hold on one second. This isn't a conch shell, but it's a little baby snail shell. But do you see how it has depth and dimension inside of it? Like it's like you could go into it just like a little snail, okay? That's how this ship was. It was alive, and it had panels and it had technology, but it was alive, okay? And in the dream, my husband didn't know. Like, he wasn't as awake as I was. And he started to almost injure the panel because he was scared. It was like all of a sudden he's on a ship and he didn't know what he was doing. And I was like, stop. The ship is alive. Don't injure it. And he was like, what? I'm like, yes, it's good. The ship is here helping us. And he was like, oh, like he didn't know, okay? That was a few years ago. That was a little bitty small one, okay? But small could still be huge, you know, in our comprehension, but it was small compared to the one that I saw that was the size of a planet, okay? I've also seen ships in my dreams that are so beautiful, you guys, like so beautiful and almost iridescent and clear, and you can see through them, and they're like just magnificent, honestly, really beautiful, okay? So there's some incredible stuff that's about to happen that's going to blow people's minds, I can tell you, because I've seen some of this stuff in the astral, okay? But what 3A Atlas told me, okay? So the next day after I had the vision and I saw all the things, and then 3A Atlas is bringing my memories back to all these other things that have happened to me and these experiences, I told my husband wanted to meditate, okay? And thank God he wants to meditate, you guys. Thank God. We've come a long way, okay? But he wanted to do a meditation. So I sound tuned him, okay? And that's all I did. I just was like, you can think about whatever you want to think about. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to play the music and you do whatever you need, okay? Well, when I sound tuned him, he saw all these star beings, like light beings coming out of the sun, smiling at him and helping him. And he saw a couple other things, but I feel like the sun beings are the most important right now. Okay, these pure light beings. After we did his meditation, I was like, okay, it's my turn. And I said, I want you to do one with me. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, I did one for you. You helped mommy meditate, right? So I gave him a bunch of questions that I had for 3i Atlas. And he's like, what's that? He hadn't even heard of it, you guys. Like, he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, okay. I'm like, because I've been telling him not to watch the news. And thank God he's not watching the news. But anyway, because of that, he doesn't know anything about this. And I was like, just ask the questions. And he's like, okay. And so he did. And this is what 3i Atlas told us, okay, through my channel. Okay, so it came through my channel, but my husband was asking the questions. It helps when you can do that because the channeler can go deeper when they don't have to think on both sides of the brain, okay? And we can do that if ever you guys want to do like a group session. We can do that. I do that in my school classroom where I can channel and you guys can ask questions and we can have a facilitator. That's really fun because we can go deep and we can get answers, okay? But I did this with my husband and he asked the questions and 3i Atlas told him that it was a planet, that it's a planet and of consciousness, that is a ship, okay? And that it's here to help and assist humanity. And I don't know if I wrote it all down, but basically it said that it will not come closer than is safe for humanity. It will only do good, is essentially what it was saying. It will come in as we can handle more and more and more. Its very presence, where it's at right now, is affecting us in a good way. It did say that there's duality to everything, which goes back to what I said in the beginning of the message, that when you bring in lots of consciousness or light, this requires the purging of darkness or shadows and all the fears that humanity has and all that. Well, all that has to kind of like come up and get, they're showing me like a boiling pot of boiling liquid, and the vapor that comes off of it is kind of like the way they want you to envision darkness leaving, okay, this realm. But it's bringing in all this light, which is like heat, okay, and it's putting that heat into that liquid, and the liquid's going to begin to boil, and it's going to boil out impurities. That's how they're describing it, not to be scary or in a weird way, but just to give you an illustration. They just kind of want you to imagine in your mind, okay, how the process of bringing in more light can purify, okay? Very much the same as we distill water. When you distill water, that vapor that comes off of it, you know, can be used, or vice versa. I think when you distill, I think they use the vapor, but you get my point. They're saying, do you understand how something can separate when there's enough energy put into it, okay? This actually goes along with what Thoth told me. When Thoth described the solar flashes to me, he said that it is going to be so fast and so just precise that we won't really even realize what happened when it happens, because it's just going to like, everything's just going to separate and then come back together so fast. You wouldn't as a human even have realized it. And he says, this is what happens when a human gets hit with like a lot of light. You know, they don't have the capacity, the consciousness yet to understand or like really hold all that information. So your brain will only hold like what you can handle, basically. So that's kind of a good thing if you think about it, because this is why we know that what's coming is good, and it's also not going to be scary at all, okay? Like, because the real changes that are needed here are going to require that pure plasma light. The real changes of bringing a realm into higher consciousness is going to require all of the beings of that realm to purify. And to purify a vessel of light, you need more light. Okay. And what ends up happening is like, how do you guys want to describe it? They're talking about like laser therapy, for example, like a laser targets certain layers of the body. And this is why we can use lasers in healing, right? And doctors use lasers for lots of things, okay? And so do estheticians like me and other professionals. And we know exactly what depth that light is going to hit, right? And we know from studying it what it's going to do to the tissues and how long it's going to take for those tissues to heal, okay? Imagine if humans can figure that out from studying it through science, what these light beings know about light and how to fix your body and how to fix your mind and how to fix our consciousness, right? They know exactly how much to give and how it's going to help and what we can handle. They're calling it like controlled damage. And what they mean, they're talking about skincare, because I've been doing skincare for so long, 20 years, okay? I know that if I go in and I microneedle the skin, or I do plasma skin tightening on the skin, or I dermaplane the skin, or any procedure on the skin, okay? If I want to rejuvenate that skin, I have to go in and actually cause a little bit of damage, okay? Because then I stimulate the healing. And I know to basically administer a little bit of gentle controlled damage to stimulate the healing. And then when it heals, the skin becomes tighter, firmer, more youthful looking, and it's rejuvenated. And in a sense, that's kind of what they're explaining. They're sending in a lot of light, okay? But only what we can handle. And as they do, the parts of us that can't handle it get damaged, okay? And when that happens, okay, the healthy parts of us, the light being part of us, comes in and is like, ooh, we've got holes, let's fix it. And you fill that up with light. And every time you do this, you become more and more and more and more and more what you are born to be, okay? All right, so they're telling me to bring in this other aspect. So moving on from that, they reminded me of when I saw the face of the goddess, okay? I posted it on my page. Go back and look. She was in the clouds. Her eyes were closed, and she had like, it was like a very clear face. Clearest one I think I've ever captured. Maybe there've been a few like her where I'm like, wow, whoa, what just happened? In that post, someone commented a thread of something, and I was like, ooh, something about what she's saying feels right, feels true, okay? So I go down the rabbit hole and start looking up what this woman said, okay? And oh my gosh, you guys, if it wasn't a confirmation, the actual name of the guide that she mentioned, which is a goddess that's named in ancient history, which I didn't know, okay, is the name of one of my guides that I channeled by the lake, by our house, which is a portal, and I'm sure of it, with my husband. I don't give her name on social media because I feel the need to protect her privacy. And when she's ready, I feel like I will do it, okay? But I will say this about her. She told me to paint her picture, and I'm going to show you guys. Hold on, I'm going to pause it. This is what I painted, okay? So take a look at that. And then I'm going to flip it around. Okay, she told me to paint her picture. She told me to paint her with a gem right here in the center of her forehead, okay? And I did. And then I had no idea, you guys, that months and months later, I was going to see a vision of the goddess in the clouds. I was going to go down this rabbit hole, find what this woman said, find the name of her, knowing it was her because she told me her name when I channeled it. I was like, oh, this is legit. Like, this is I just, it was like, I don't know if anybody else who sees this is also a channeler, but when you get very specific information and then you get the confirmations of the information, it still, as a human, like takes you off guard too, where you're like, whoa, oh my gosh, okay. Well, that's what happened. I was like, this is legit. Oh my gosh, okay. Well, when I dove down that rabbit hole, that went back to ancient Mu and Lemuria in my lifetime as a Lemurian priestess, okay? And the third eye being so developed that it was like a crystal in the middle of the forehead, okay? And all these little messages started to sync up, if that makes sense. And I want to tell you something about this that's relevant to 3i Atlas, okay? So she this particular guide of mine, who I dearly love, okay, the way I found this is going down this rabbit hole of looking up this thing they found on the other side of the moon. And this woman that they found in stasis, and she had a crystal pineal gland that was so developed that it actually protruded her forehead. And basically, she navigated and controlled that entire ship because it was a living, breathing, conscious planet, you guys. And I'm like, if it hadn't have unfolded the way that it unfolded, I would have probably never believed it. I don't know. But it was like a piece here, a piece here, a piece here, a piece here. And then all of a sudden, it comes together, right? She told me that when I first channeled her, she told me she was on a ship and that she was watching and protecting. And I'm like, okay, I did not know where this was going to lead us. Okay. Me, my husband, or any of us. Okay. Even you guys. But when I found out that she was literally the entire consciousness of this ship, which is the size of the planet, and then 3i Atlas comes in and tells me it's a planet of consciousness that's a ship that can go anywhere, I was like, this sounds familiar. This sounds like my guide, one of my guides, okay? I think it's relevant. I think somehow this is all very relevant, okay? To the same story. And there are probably multiple, and I'm hearing another one coming up. I have a client who came in for a session maybe 2 years ago, not into metaphysics at all, not into extraterrestrials, not into any of it, you guys. Just the most, not, just imagine a person not into any of this at all, just the most closed off to it. Goes into a session where he is the leader of a ship that's the size of a planet, okay? And he's been on this ship for 1,000 years. And he's been watching the earth all this time. And he's just like, the whole session, the whole regression was him talking about just wishing he could come to earth, but the people weren't ready. And it might have been longer than 1,000 years. I had to go back and listen to the recording. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now listen, I did not know that this was all going to piece together, all these years later, but it did. Okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And the fact that he connected to that consciousness on that ship, I think there's more that's going to unfold on this. I think that some of us may be on 3i Atlas projecting our image here. I don't know if anybody's proposed that theory yet, but I'm proposing it because what? Why does this keep happening? So there's something. There's either projections coming from it to here or us to there, or somehow they're bringing us up and we're getting these messages and bringing it back down here, but there's something there, okay? And I feel like this whole message is going to be codes for people who need it. You're going to know who you are, whoever you are. But there's something, you guys, okay? Why would I keep seeing this over and over and over and over again? Years ago, even when we would do the group channelings here locally, and then my channelings would always be these like ascended masters. I wouldn't have like regular channeled set. I just don't have that. That's not who I am. And what God told me is, when he first started explaining my frequency, he showed my connection to the Seraphim Angelics and my connection to Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and really kind of a pantheon of beings that were like family for me. And I think this is going to be relevant to whoever it is, whoever sees this, that needs to also know their story a little better. Perhaps my story is going to help your story, because I think we're all kind of a piece to the puzzle, okay? And somehow all of this is coming into fruition through movement of the cosmic bodies, is what they're saying. So as these cosmic bodies kind of line up the way they're supposed to, okay, so do our cosmic bodies within us and within Earth. And there's this sort of ripple out. They're showing like a lotus flower opening, okay, but it's more cyclical than that. Like there's this circular opening of just consciousness, and it looks like all the stargates. It looks like the tree of life. It's back online, is what they're saying, on grid, So we have accomplished something here. As crazy as it looks, something major has happened here that is for the good. Okay, one more part. I know this is a long one, you guys, but like seriously, I'm doing the best I can. My husband, okay, helped me do this 3-eye atlas thing. Then, here's where it gets weirder. This morning, he gets up and meditates with me again. I sound tune him. He did so well, okay? And then he was playing with the puppy. He was very calm and in a good mood, which I'm very happy for because he's been really working on keeping his energy calm and just, calibrating himself. So I'm proud of him. That being said, out of nowhere, one of my friends on TikTok messages me. She is also in communication with 3-eye atlas, okay? But I had not purposely tried to communicate with 3-eye atlas knowingly anyway. Apparently I was doing it for years and didn't know. But not knowingly, I was getting messages. But 4 days ago was the first time I tried to, I knowingly attempted to connect, okay? And she messages me out of nowhere and sends me this long thing. And I'm not going to read you her message, but the point is she was saying, I'm so proud of your husband. And that's amazing. And da, 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 da. And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, I have not made a video about this. I have not posted about this. I have not talked about him meditating or his progress. Zero. I think I don't even know what I've said about my husband. Maybe it's something. I don't know. I knew it was because I connected to 3-eye atlas and suddenly she knew and it was like, we knew. It was the weirdest. It was like a sync up, and I'm synced to several souls on the planet as far as like telepathically. Like there are certain people on the planet that don't live near me geographically, but we are soul connected, and I will hear them when they need help. I'll hear their voice. I'll hear them talking to me, or they'll hear me, and it's several friends in their dreams or in my dreams. I'll hear, pray for so and so, help this one, go here, go there, right? And I feel that's part of just being an angelic, okay? But this was pretty weird and interesting at the same time for her to out of nowhere say that. And I'm like, she's the only other one I know of talking about 3-eye atlas in a real deep way. And then I connected with 3-eye atlas knowingly this time, okay? Get all this information about it, its consciousness. It was incredible, okay? And I don't think even what we're being shown is really how it is. I think what 3-eye atlas is showing us is what the human mind can understand. Okay? Like, sorry, they're up there cleaning. I hear them cleaning. But we're being shown something, okay, so that we can understand something. To fully connect with its consciousness, when I tell you it was so rapid, so fast, so zip, 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 all the visions all at once, very omnipresent, okay? And then, I told you guys in the video the other day, at the end of it, I said, I am the eyes of God, I am the eye of God, I am the eye of God. And then all this vibration was coming through. That's what it was like, channeling with 3-eye atlas, okay? So, and that reminds me of the pyramid activations because it's the same way. Those are deep, deep, deep activations, you guys. When we do those, oh my gosh. And the vibration and the feeling of just the all, just being the all, okay, is something that a human can't put into words. I cannot in words tell you exactly the experience of it. I can just say that